Before we get into this episode, I just want to give a little warning. This episode may evoke some emotional response out of people because we do go into depression, suicide, we go into psychedelics, we go into business, but really the first 2 points that I brought up might be a little bit for people to have to listen to. However, my next guest, Todd, has been absolutely incredible in being able to share his own experiences and working through some of the toughest times in his life and now coming to a stage where he's out of it and what he did that worked for him. Once again, this is not medical advice on this episode, and I would always advise that people that are going through a hard time to make sure that they go seek medical assistance. However, in this podcast, we do go into some other alternative thought processes and theories as to what can help people. So please make sure you understand that. And once again, thank you for listening to Squeezing the Plums. If you haven't already, press the follow button and let's get into the episode. Before every guest comes on, I sort of send them through a little email.
Yeah.
And in that email, I have a specific question which says, if 99% of the world got wiped out and you were left with 1%, right, of the world to speak to, and they summoned you, they said, Todd, we want you to go and speak to 1% of the people that are left about a piece of knowledge that you have that you think you could find beneficial for these people to listen to. And you said, sure, Steve, this is what you wrote in your email, and that words are your world, right?
Yes.
That is what you wrote, and that is what you would talk about. Why is that your phrase, and why do you think that's so important?
Yeah. So, great question in the email. Yeah. So I guess words is your world is a phrase that I live by. And firstly, I think it's important for everyone to have some kind of short, sweet ideology that they can live by and remember each day and use throughout their day. But yeah, words is your world is powerful because quite literally words are your world and they carry so much power. If you think about our body, our body is like hardware, our brain is a supercomputer, our mental state is a program at which we choose to run, and then our words, or what we tell ourselves internally, is the coding to that computer. So you can choose whether you want to code yourself with positivity or negativity, and then that's the program that you'll run, and that's what you'll live by. Also, everything that happens internally within us dictates our external state. So everything that we put out there will receive. And words are so powerful. Like that's why it's called spelling. What we put out into the world, we can choose for it to be a positive or a negative spell. And no matter what, you're going to be spelling something, you're going to be casting something. So you might as well make it something that's going to benefit your life.
It's awesome because you've already just started off with a very almost borderline spiritually sort of philosophy that I already know that's, you've got a big inkling towards based off your history, and we'll deep dive into that because I know that excites you and that gets you up and about. For a lot of people at home that are struggling with making positive words, positive affirmations, positive ways to sort of look at themselves, there's a big saying that, you reflect based off your body of evidence, right?
Sure.
And if your body of evidence is shit, so you look back and go, well, there's no proof of me actually saying this. How is it that you can create words that maybe don't reflect your past? And is that something that you can just lie to yourself about and over time will change into something positive?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think, you kind of got to fake it till you make it. And that goes not only for things in the third dimension, but also internally. And I found it interesting. I saw this study that they did in the States, and they discovered that the number one way to become more lucky is to literally just tell yourself that I'm a lucky person. And it's like scientifically proven. So I've been telling myself I'm so lucky, and I guess I feel I'm pretty lucky.
That's good.
Like I'm winning at poker, so it's working. But to go back to what you were saying, I think you do. And like you have to will yourself out of that place. And language is so powerful, as I was saying before. It's words are all that we really have, and the language that you use, you have to use to your advantage. If you're not, you're really just like, you're quite simple. Um, like, the number one way to become more intelligent is to literally know more words,
Mm.
because words create sentences create notions and ideas. That's how you have original thought. So we have to use language to our advantage, and the most important person to have good constructive language to is yourself.
You said willingness to
Yeah.
push. And I guess that's very important because if you do not have the willingness to drive and change your thought process, then your
Yes.
actions and obviously the consequences of those actions won't change. So going back to yourself, I know your mum was a cutthroat entrepreneur. You know, your dad
Yeah.
was a pretty smart man as well. Was this something that they instilled into you early, or is this something that you developed through adversity?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so come from a fascinating family, very intelligent people. Um and yeah, ever since I was young, it's always been about business, every dinner table conversation. Um I think it's come from a mix of both. They've had very high standards for me, standards that I haven't always met at an adolescent. So perhaps that's a part of it, and just being the black sheep as well. Like, I had to find out a lot of things on my own. Um, and it's caused friction at certain times when I was younger. So yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. It's nurture and it's nature.
What did you find out? What did you find out that when you were younger that created friction?
Oh, man, I'm just a bit of a maverick, a bit of a divergent. So inherently there'll be challenges there. Um, and I come from a very like educated family, like a group of people that pride themselves on like tertiary success and all these things that I have none of. So yeah, I guess I'm just essentially different.
Yeah, okay.
It's a blessing and a curse.
So, all right, so you grow up and you figure out at a young age that you're different, right? In terms of what your parents expect of you. And I think that can apply to so many people, whether it is, your parents expect of you to be able to play sport really well, or
Mm,
expect you to go to university, or expect you to marry a certain person. Quite often you'll find that an older generation will place their expectations onto you, even without knowing. So when you talk about not getting a tertiary education, what is it that you did with yourself to get yourself into a place where now, no, from what I know, you're into business and into lifestyle as well?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. So I actually pretended to go to university for like at least a year.
Fuck, I can't wait for this. Go on then,
Yeah.
because I did it for 4 years. So please tell me where I
Yeah.
fucked up. Yeah.
So yeah, because my parents are so well educated. They both come from a science background, and in fact my whole family is in health or medical relatively. So like being the only born son, like I really have to get a university degree, and if I don't, it's over. You know, they spent all this money on taking me to the best school, and for me to just like, you know, throw that away at the last mile, which is essentially what I did. That will create friction for sure. So to avoid this friction in the interim, I just decided I'll pretend to go to university. So, I mean, yeah, I've got a funny story of how I left, but we can touch on that in a moment. But what I was doing instead is I had a business mentor. Um, and mind you, I was studying business in university from someone that had never started a business. So I was like, literally, I was in a class called entrepreneurs, and the person wasn't an entrepreneur. So I was like, why would I learn from a textbook when I can learn from people that have really done this in the real world, and learn so much more in the process and not waste so much money? So I essentially had a business mentor, and I made my classes really early in the morning, like 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. lectures and stuff. So I literally just woke up early, the exact time that I would go to the lecture, and then go to work with this business mentor that I had that was in like I guess you could say the music industry or the entertainment space. And then I would sit in on all these like really high level meetings and meet touring artists, and just I was just thrown into the world of like, I guess, high level business at like 18. Um, and it worked for about a year, and then I eventually said, I'm not going to uni.
So when you said you pretended, so
Yeah.
you effectively were enrolled in university.
No, I dropped out.
Okay, yeah. So you were enrolled and you dropped out.
Yeah.
Right? Did you, when you dropped out of uni, did you continue to tell your parents that you were going to university?
Correct.
For how long?
For a year at least. I can't remember exactly, probably a year. Yeah. And the day I dropped out, I had no plans to drop out at all. So that morning, I had a presentation to give in class, in the entrepreneurs class, that I'd worked all night on. Essentially, I had to come up with a business and present it. And I was the first one up to present. So I walk in there, with my laptop, all ready to go, PowerPoint presentation on point. I walk in there. She's like, all right, party, off you go. You're up first. I'm like, great. So as I open up my laptop, I go to plug in the HDMI cord and I look around at this class. I have an epiphany in real time. And it's just a voice in my head that's like, what are you doing here? And I look around at the room, and for this split moment, I could see where everyone was going, like where their future was, what their direction was, like it was above their head. And yeah, it's funny. Like some people, like I could just see it was like Uber driver and like food delivery person, and like no one was an entrepreneur. That was the point. Like no one was using this class to like have any functional use in their life. And I just knew out of this entire group of people that I was the only one that was genuinely going to be an entrepreneur, and I knew it wasn't going to be from this silly class in this like second, third tier university. So like I literally just closed up my laptop. I said, guys, I'm dropping out. And like the whole class was like,
That's how you did it?
Yeah, I just said it in front of the whole class, and then like my table of friends just like erupt, and everyone's like, oh my God. And then the teacher like literally shook my hand, and she's like, you know what? I know you're going to be successful. You're going to have a great business, whatever, like go out and kill it. And I was like, thanks guys. And I walk out the room and everyone's like applauding.
That's
yeah, it was like a movie.
Random.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So,
and then I walked straight to the student HQ, right? Like the admin building. And I'm like, hey, I want to drop out. And she's like, you won't believe it. Like, this is the last day you can drop out and not pay a cent. So I was like, sign me up.
Really?
So it was like meant to be. And then I walked out of the campus, and I did this with a friend as well. So we're like in this together. And, but he was coming from a completely different class. I don't know what his story was, but connected up. So I walked out there on the campus, and I was sitting on Glen Ferry Road or something, like, and I was just like, damn, like, what am I going to do now? So I had this one contact in my phone that I'd met at this runway that I did. And this person was the business mentor that I'd had, like, not yet, but in the future from now. And I called him up. His name was Mark. I didn't know if he would answer the phone. I just met him at this event and got his details, and I knew he did something cool and something interesting. So I literally called him up, and I was like, Mark, I just dropped out of uni. I'm free every single day. And I was like, can I learn from you, work with you, join in with what you're doing? And it's like, you start tomorrow. And that was what happened.
Wow. There was a moment when I went to school. It was in year 12, and back then, oh God, how long ago was back then? So I was 17, I'm 34 now. So,
Okay.
okay, fair while ago. Um, there was a guy that came out in school,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And the way he did it was like, he ripped off his shirt, like his school shirt, and underneath was like a t-shirt of shirt.
Oh really?
And he so fucking yelled out, "I'm gay." And we were like, what the fuck? Some people were clapping, some
Got
people
to
were
make a
hands on head.
statement.
Yeah, it was just, anyways, I
Wow.
was like, there are some things that you see that you like, I can't believe that's just happened. And that
Yeah.
almost sounds like one of those moments where, you're in a class and you don't know whether to go, is this guy fucking serious or is this guy out of his
Yeah.
mind or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is that you called someone and you got a gig. What was the gig and where did that take you?
Yeah, I guess I was essentially an associate of sorts. And yeah, I was just there to learn and like, assist with the work that he was doing. Um and I could tell like he just enjoyed maybe he saw a bit of himself in me. Um but yeah, I'd be sitting in a lot of meetings and discussing a lot of like conceptual ideas to things and problem solving and all really good life skills that I wouldn't have learned in that class.
Nice. And so what was the job? What did he do? Or can you say
Yeah,
that
I
or not?
guess he was yeah, he worked as like a manager of talent and then he would be involved in touring artists that would come through to Australia like really large artists.
So then at what point do you go, okay, well, now I've learnt enough of you. Thank you very much for your time. It's time for me to do my own thing.
Yeah.
How did that process work?
Yeah, well I started a nightclub when I was 19.
You started the nightclub, as
Yeah, we
in, or,
started a
or like
night.
or a
Yeah.
night at the nightclub.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
Friday night.
yeah. What was the nightclub?
The venue was Lux.
Lux. Okay.
And yeah, I mean it was so much fun. Long term did not work. Like yeah, I don't think I'd ever do nightlife again. But yeah, it's very interesting. So I guess, from there like and I just become more mature and I guess I was starting to travel a lot. Um and he was just doing other things as well. But yeah, that's kind of where we parted ways when this nightclub like didn't fully come together. But man, difficult industry and yeah, not super ethical.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so what were some of the key takeaways? Because when you take a deep dive into something, so you've literally been with this guy for probably 12 months, not even.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go, all right, I'm going to take the leap of faith and I'm going to get started into something. What were the key takeaways from that? If you were to go back in time, would you go, maybe you don't jump in straight away, or
Mm.
I would assess the situation differently? Like, what have you taken from that experience?
Yeah, I guess even after that, I was still quite young, so still so much to learn.
Mm.
And there was many lessons to learn from that point onward. But yeah, that's right. I guess you just have to have that self assurance and conviction in yourself. And like I was always confident. Um, but yeah, you know, once you have, that knowledge, which is so powerful, then you can put it into something else that you're doing. But there was many more mistakes to come.
All right. So let's talk about mistakes, because that is the whole entrepreneur journey,
Oh, for
is
sure.
failing forward, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're constantly when we used to do athletics, we always said you need to look like you're falling forward when you're running,
Mm,
because you have to pick up your feet quicker,
for
right?
sure.
It's a little bit like entrepreneurship. If you don't experiment and you don't try and you don't do these things, you're unable to figure out quickly where you're going.
Yeah.
So along the way, what are some of the businesses that you've tried, and what are some of the failures that have occurred to get you to the point where you're now?
Oh man, yeah, I guess there's been multiple really key lessons that I would have learned in the entrepreneurial space. I think number one, it's finding the right people. Business is all people, and the quality of the people in a business will ultimately determine the quality of its success. So yeah, one of the major lessons was finding the right people, um, and people that you can fully trust. Like when you have a deal on the table, you really shouldn't look at what the deal is. You should look at who the person is.
Mm.
So that's been a really big one. But man, there's so many, and so many ventures and different things. I think it takes, at least in the US, um, the standard entrepreneur 8 ventures before they find long-term success.
8 ventures?
Yeah, on average, yeah. So, I mean, if we count the lemonade stand when I was 12, it's probably 8. 8 or so. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Steve, you caught me at an interesting time because this is a pivotal moment where I'm just starting to become successful now, at least in my terms. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting time. Like this is a year where a lot is changing for the better, for sure.
How do you define success?
Oh, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, obviously it's financial and having that freedom. Number two, like in the last 12 months, becoming abundant, not only in the financial domain, but also like mental, spiritual. In the last year, I've become had a lot more physicality. That's a huge form of success. Being strong as a man is a must to me. So yeah, it's across the board,
And so you said
all encompassing.
you said mental. I
Yeah.
guess, that's something that innately you have to have in entrepreneurship. You have to have a level of almost that stoic mindset, or that
Yeah.
mindset that you're like, fuck it, I'll do it, and no matter what, I'll go through with what I've intended to do. Has your mindset always been like that and been that way, or have you found that you've gone through different ways, or even gone down a darker hole, or things that have
Mm,
challenged you that you've come to where you are now?
um, yeah, no, the mental aspect is everything because, it's one of the main hermetic principles is like the universe is mental. And as I was saying before, like everything internal also reflects externally. So your mental state is going to dictate your quality of work and your quality of decision making and the quality of people that you attract around you. It's all tied in one. So it all starts within. That's something that I've definitely had a lot of experience in learning from experience.
So what experience can you recite back or go back into where
Mm.
you're probably, let's say, not at your mental best?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, I've been in the lowest of lows mentally before.
Run me through that, man. Because obviously now you've come to me and you said,
Yeah.
Steve, things are changing. It's all good, right? And it's great
Yeah.
for people to know that you're in a good position.
Mm.
But people also like to know that it wasn't all fucking sunshine
Oh
and
yeah, for
rainbows.
sure. Yeah, we can go there, of
Let's
course.
go there then.
Um, yeah, so let me think back. Like, I would say this is 2022, I want to say.
So not long ago.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe end of 2021, 2022. I was in, my lowest point mentally. But as I said, it's all in one. So it all comes from within. So being in a low state on the inside, everything on the outside was also falling apart around me. And yeah, I mean, I don't really like to believe in depression, or I'd never have a victim mindset today. But at that point in time, I would have been like categorized as depressed, I would say. And this is what, like, when I reached that incredibly low point, that's what triggered my psychedelic journeys,
Mm.
because essentially I wanted to die. I
Mm.
wanted to leave,
Mm.
and I didn't care anymore. So that's why I started heroic dosing psychedelics.
Right. Okay. So,
Yeah, and I got everything I answered for,
you know,
everything I asked for. Yeah.
I'm gonna, I'll get onto the psychedelics in a second because obviously I speak about that on my first podcast and my personal
Yeah.
experience. So
Yeah.
we can definitely chew the fat about that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are people that listen and they have two frames of thought, like you are. One is like depression is not there, it's a figment of your mind. The other people will go, well, depression is sort of made up of, genetic factors, your personality, your body chemistry, all these things, and this concoction of things, plus your external environment or who you surround yourself with, creates almost like a dark cloud within your mind that you can't see anything different.
Yeah.
So experiencing what you experienced, what were some of the mundane things that you're doing day to day that should have lit you up, or just, at least kept you okay, that you were just like regretting or not wanting to do at all?
Um, I feel like I just wasn't doing anything. And that was half of the problem. Like I just let myself fall in a state of despair and going back to words are your world. It's like the words I was telling myself nonstop were just negative because I just felt like I just wanted to give up and I wanted to leave and die.
Hmm.
Funny to laugh at now, but I really did at that time. And yeah, I think the number one way you can get out of a state of depression or being at a really low mental point is keep yourself super busy
Mm.
and put so much stuff into your day that you don't really have time to worry about how you're feeling. You're just doing, and you can kind of work yourself out of it. From my experience, um, keeping myself super occupied and having something to focus on that wasn't my emotional state was key for
So
sure.
that sounds like a great band-aid, like it, and then you get to a state where the band-aid's not enough, right? And that happens for a lot of people. So for you, it seems like you got to a state where you're like, I need to dive really deep
Yeah,
and
rip off the band-aid.
rip off the band-aid, right? Rip off the ability to just fucking push it down, push it down, work, 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 work,
Mm,
work.
for sure.
Um, and so you went down this path, which is, very, I found it really difficult to speak about psychedelics because obviously it's a bit taboo and some
Sure.
people don't understand it. But
Yeah,
let's
yeah, yeah.
go there if you feel
Oh
comfortable.
yeah, of course.
All right. So why psychedelics?
Mm,
And it's not for everyone. I always say that. I say it should be treated with respect
mm.
and it should come from a good place. But for you, why psychedelics and where did you start with it?
Yeah, sure. So, why psychedelics? Because, you know, I had researched it and understood that this is highly medicinal. Um, and I like looked into all of the risks and a- assessed it myself and made the executive decision that this is going to be a net positive for my particular position. And also, I hadn't done any other drugs. I hadn't done party drugs, never been drunk, very rarely drink alcohol. So, if there was something that was going to give me uh, some kind of escapism, this would be it.
Hmm. Better than, well, yeah, it's either the feeling of dying or doing what you're
Yeah,
doing. So you're like, well, fucking might as well do this, right?
yeah, that's it. I literally like was smart about it. I read a lot about it. Listened to a lot of information and really understood it. And then I said, this is something that would most likely benefit my situation. And I was right. It completely cured my mental state at that time. And
Something
I've
that
never been the same since. So,
something you said is very important, and I hope whoever's listening, because there are people now, you know, psychedelics is sexy, right?
mm,
But what you said back then was you researched it, you looked it up,
yeah.
you did the work, right?
Oh, for sure.
You understood what the positives and negatives were, because anything that's psychedelic will change the way that you're thinking in that
Mm,
moment, right? Your psychology is
yeah.
is going to be totally different when you're under psychedelics.
Yeah.
So, it can have net positive or net negative depending on your intention.
Mm,
So, when you were going through, your first journey, what was your intention? Because that sets everything.
yeah. So I didn't deliberately set an intention for the most profound journey I had. Um, like I hadn't really researched the full process of how to go about any kind of ceremonial um use of those compounds, but I had researched what they do and how they can help for someone like me at that particular point in time. So I hadn't set an intention deliberately, but subconsciously I'd set one because my intention was I want to die every day, because I was just in a perpetual cycle of suicidal thoughts and negativity and not want to be here. So I guess I had set that intention, whether I liked it or not. And then, yeah,
Wait,
that,
you set the intention that you want to leave or you want to fix that thought?
well, I just wanted to like kill myself basically at that time. So, heroic dose psilocybin, like, about 5 grams. And these ones were double strength as well. So
Right.
maybe it was 10. And I'd got what I'd asked for because I experienced ego death,
Okay, what is an ego death? I know what an ego death
ego
is.
dissolution.
Ego
Yeah.
dissolution. And what did you find out about your ego?
Well, the first thing that happens is you start losing information about yourself. And which is an incredibly scary thing to experience, at least for me. Someone that prides myself on who I am and how I look and certain things like that based off my environment, losing that is like, it's confronting. So you start forgetting all of this information. You forget your name, who you are, where you're born, your gender, your age, all of these things just disappear. And it's kind of like if you're plunging into an ocean where light is information and photons are knowledge, when you're at the bottom and there's no light and you're just left there in darkness and you know nothing. That's what it's like. And then from that, it's essentially death, because everything that you know about yourself is what makes you alive. And then losing that is the opposite of life. So you're there in a place that is so different to waking consciousness, and you're no longer connected to your three-dimensional being. You could say essentially you're your soul, perhaps. And you're everything that's not the physical. So you're just left there to pick up the pieces and navigate space and time.
That's
yourself.
full on. That's
Yeah.
full on. Thank you for sharing, because
No, it's okay.
that's not easy sometimes to go back to. For some people, definitely. And I hope whoever's listening can pay their respects for understanding how hard it is to sometimes go back to those moments. I remember, I remember when I went through my ceremony and
Yeah.
and I yelled out. I talk about it in this episode, my first episode. Well, who gives a fuck? I just yelled it out. Yeah, I just fucking yelled it out so loud, right?
Yeah.
And the guy that was running the ceremony said, "Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life." Like,
Yeah,
like
true.
welcome, And it was a bit like, wow, it's like there are some profound work, but there's also, you can see people that have gone into that with completely wrong ideas of it and come out
Yeah.
the other way. So I'm glad for you, brother, that worked out beautifully well in terms of we've still got you here and now you're
Yes,
ready
sir.
to climb the mountain.
Yeah.
So you pick up the pieces, right?
Yep.
And you go, well, okay, I am not this. You don't start identifying with, I'm Todd who has to be a business owner. I'm Todd that is a model, or I'm Todd that does all these other types of things. You take that away from yourself.
Yeah.
What's the climb back up the mountain to start going, right, I'm interested in getting back into everything that
Yeah.
is business and life?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, after that trip, essentially, you're in a state of rebirth and I thought I was never coming back as well. I thought that was it. I'm dead. I guess I got what I asked for and that's it. And then I basically like, asked God, please let me come back. Like, I didn't really want this. And it's so real when you're in that state. Like, anyone that's been there understands. Like, this is your whole truth and nothing but the truth in that realm. And, you can't like think of, or you can't like understand anything else beyond that,
Mm.
because that's all there is that you can know in that state. So like the thought of fathoming life again, I couldn't comprehend, and I just asked for it.
Mm.
And then ask and you shall receive, and I was able to come back. We're here and we're sound, and you know, we're in one piece, fortunately. And um I guess I had a reignition of life, and I decided, like, we're only here once. Like, every man has two lives, but the moment you realize you only have one is when it starts. And I realized that's it. I have one opportunity right now. I have to take this and live it to the fullest, and I'm not gonna squander this away and not appreciate it like I did before. Because, man, I'm so lucky, being born in a beautiful country, amazing family, fully able, you know, I'm an intelligent person, blessed with some great genetics, and I have everything around me to live a blessed life. So it was selfish of me to not appreciate that,
Mm.
just prior, and I'd seen life from a new perspective. So everything after that was pretty seamless to getting to the point where I am today, where I'm in like a flow state, and everything is just moving, and I'm just kind of like willing it into action, and it's going well.
Is there is there a way that you can now reflect on this, right? And let's say, psychedelics is not available for every person, it's not accessible for
Mm.
every person yet, right? And there are some people that don't want to go down that path, and that's totally fine, and I think that's okay too.
Yeah, for sure.
If you were to speak to a version of yourself that was 22, what is it that you'd say, or what is it that you would work with them through in order to have the same response potentially
Mm.
without the use of that medicine? Or do you think it would have been impossible?
Oh man, I think it's definitely impossible if they're taking like a pharmaceutical route to like curing a depression or that state, like a pharmaceutical solution, only masks the symptoms, but it doesn't address the root cause. The
Mm.
great thing about a compound like psilocybin is, at a neurological level, it's shifting your perspective and rewiring your brain to have new ideas and new ways to solve problems and think about things you've never thought before. So you're really addressing the root cause, and you've got no choice but to tackle these problems front on. It's right here. Um,
But if psilocybin wasn't available, so let's say it's not,
yeah. So if it's
right?
not,
Right?
you would
And
have to
how would you,
put yourself in that place
yeah,
some other
okay.
way.
Yeah, because it's really hard. Like there will be people that will go, well, fuck, I don't want to recommend that right now because maybe the person isn't stable enough to look at that idea or
Mm,
anything like that. But it's not often from someone in my chair that I can speak to someone that's gone through that deep dark hole, right? Which is where you've
yeah.
been. And sometimes there are different ways that people can get out of that deep dark hole. And
Yeah.
so, I know that there was someone in your life where, maybe you wish you had the chance to talk to them again, right? And we spoke about your dentist, right?
Yeah.
And you said, well, your dentist passed away with that from suicide, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you went to me, Steve, I wish I could just say a couple of things, right?
Yeah.
Now, it wouldn't have probably been, hey, have fucking Super Mario mushrooms.
Yeah. Just
All
give him the
right.
money.
Just give him the mushies whilst he's
Good luck.
working. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But what is it that you think,
Yeah.
based off your experiences, that you could do or you would do now that you know what it's like to have gone through it? And it's a
Yeah, man.
hard
It's
fucking
a tough
question.
question.
It's
I
super hard
guess
because
there
everyone's
would
got
be
different things.
there would be psychological frameworks that are out there that can like mimic perhaps what a compound like psilocybin would do, but it'll be hard to force that. Um, Hard to say. I think you would really have to remove all external stimulus,
Mm.
because that's what the psilocybin does. Is it completely puts you into a different realm, and you're very much disconnected from the outside world. So I would imagine, you would need to go in a place where it's just you and perhaps someone else that can take you through a similar journey via discussion to help you address those problems front on, and then look at new ways of solving them, and putting framework in place to stop those cyclical thought patterns happening.
And I guess
Um,
that's the role of like psychologists and psychiatrists, right? Is
yeah,
to
that's why their job is
that's what
so
that's what they
profound.
that's why their
Yeah,
job is. And that obviously is, something that people should look at fucking A1 straight away.
100%.
People should look at it, I think, from like a mental and physical growth point of view, if they've got the right person on the other end giving them the advice, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um,
But like that's why it's so fascinating with like the psycho-assisted therapies that
mm,
we have now happening in various places around the world and right here in Melbourne. It's very exciting because I think the combination of those two elements together is like a true game changer when it comes to mental health.
100%. It's currently
Yeah.
live, isn't it? If
Mm.
people are eligible, it's being
Yeah.
practiced in Melbourne now. MDMA and psilocybin assisted
Yeah.
psychotherapy with a psychiatrist is currently a well researched, well understood way to help people navigate through their things. I've done it, so I can
Incredible.
I can understand how powerful it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, though, it started off with seeking help, gaining guidance, doing research, and
Yeah.
and people are sometimes too fucking lazy to do any of those things. They just want the quick
Yeah.
fix,
True.
and that doesn't help anyone. I guess it was interesting to look at some of the stats around suicide because dentists have sort of
They
the
do.
the
Out
highest
of
stat
any
rates.
profession in the world,
Yeah, so
any occupation.
it was sort of the Australian statistics I believe showed 1 in 6 people have ideation. I think that's the same in dentistry, but 31% of dentists, according to like a study of 1,500 people in like I think it was 2021,
Mm.
31% of people outside of the research window had ticked that they have already thought about it in the years prior to that.
Absolutely.
It's
And
pretty wild.
and yeah, so much more so in men. Men really suffer in silence. Um,
Well, I actually know. So how's this? So
okay.
women, actually, it's actually more women, right, that have ideation. It's more men that do execution.
Yeah, so it's the men that follow through with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is not
Damn.
good either way. But but
Yeah.
it just shows how like, I think both men and women need to pay really big attention to this.
Yeah. I feel like men are like less forthcoming to speaking about it.
Mm.
Um, women often will discuss things like this with all their friends, but as a man, I feel like it's nearly like embarrassing to talk about,
Mm.
especially with other men.
It's huge,
Um,
and that probably has some level of
yeah.
correlation.
So I feel like men are more prone to feeling alone.
And it's about 4%, I think,
Yeah.
that actually follow through out of that 30%. And yeah, if we can get the message out that blokes can talk, especially if it starts with a mate, that's
Yeah,
probably
literally.
that is probably one of the most important things that you can do in order to realize that, hey, look, there is another side of the coin. You just haven't flipped it the right way yet,
Yes.
And so um, that's something that, hopefully now as we
Mm.
start to progress forward, and hopefully you get the chance to share your story a few times because I think the more that you can articulate what you went through, and now you're obviously in a way which can converse this openly,
Yeah.
unashamedly, which is fucking well done to you. I think the more hopefully we'll get the message out there that you need to be able to talk to your boys.
Yeah, you
Or,
got to. Yeah.
you
And
know, don't wait till you fucked up too much. Otherwise it's pretty hard.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I had my incredible dentist, Damien, rest in peace. I had seen Damien since I had my first baby tooth.
Yeah, right.
So he's been like a key figure in my entire life, up until recent months. And I saw him only weeks before he decided to pass as
Mm.
well. So as I was saying, like if there's only something I could have said, because I know, like, I was one of his super positive patients that he would look forward to seeing, and he would always get so excited when I'll drop in and come in for a consultation. Um, yeah, so, and he was functioning perfectly. Like he's so good at his job, so professional, always put on a smile. Like there was no way of knowing.
Mm.
And I think a lot of gents and women are kind of putting up a front like that, and I think, perhaps we all just need to be a bit more real when it
Mm.
comes to mental health, and be a bit more honest and open about it.
Being real is
Yeah,
is I think something that people are afraid to do because they live a life of comparison. You know, we,
absolutely.
we live a life of seeing through the lenses of other people's highlights. And so for you to not have every day as a fucking highlight
Mm,
is almost sometimes for people depressing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and it's, there's a lot of people out there that are now trying to show that, you know, everyone goes through real ups and downs. I don't know if you've heard of the word sonder, but it's sort of like if you realize that every single person you see has their own fucking crazy world happening within them,
yeah,
then you just sort of starting to realize that you're not alone, and that everyone's going through stuff. And it's important that you create great words and great people around you in your environment to be able to get you in the right direction moving forward.
yeah,
So
sure.
I want to talk about this right direction because, you know, I think part of it is people now know that you're going cool. You've worked through some shit. Now you're working on the positives. Um, d- Before I get to that, sorry, I do digress. Do the negative thoughts ever come back? Or
No,
now?
not at all.
Not at all. So you
No.
are fucking sweet. Well, this is wonderful. Okay,
Yeah,
so now from 2022 to now 2024, right? You're at a state where you built yourself back up.
yeah.
For people that address their depression, like and find the pieces that they need to put back together, how quickly was the incline and the climb up for you?
Um, yeah, I guess, you know, it's continuous. We're always ascending to a higher plane. Um, but I think timeline of 6 months
Mm.
was like the key transformation. Someone like Win can attest to how much I changed in every facet of life. Um, yeah, so from being feeling completely beaten down to everything going wrong, losing friends, people exiting my life, friction with family, as I was mentioning, um, very low mental will, even lower will of physicality. I was 69 kilograms. So I had that experience. Boom. I was like, let's change this. And over the next 6 months, I reinvested everything to becoming a better version of myself. Um, and yeah, it started with training in the gym, huge one. Like, it's incredible how much physical exercises changes your state of being. Just doing something difficult every single day, proving to yourself that you can do it, then builds strength of will on the inside as you build strength physically. And then seeing one thing going right, okay, great, you know, I've achieved this, and that has a domino effect in other facets of life. Um, and then before long, thinking of some kind of negative thought, it felt archaic. It's like, can't believe I even thought that. That was so dumb.
Uh,
um, and then in 6 months, I put on like over 20 kilograms of muscle, and an incredibly positive state of mind. Actively working on this business that's launching now, and had quite a bit of success there, and getting everything back in shape, getting great people around me again, reassessing uh, that social side of my life, and obviously once again having a great connection with my amazing family.
mm, that is wild to think that 6 months, because some people think, oh, click 6 months. a long time of commitment.
Yeah, but it goes by quick.
It'll go by quick, but it all
Yeah.
starts with, people always say in the time, get your physical body right, put some good stuff into your mouth. And it's amazing, all of those things start to just change bit by bit by bit by bit until you get to a state where
Yeah.
it's foreign to think of a negative thought. And only
Yeah.
6 months prior to that, or 12 months prior to that, that was all that consumed you.
Yeah, so much can change in half a year. Like, seriously, your whole life can change in 6 months if you choose.
So now you're at the stage where you got back into business, and you've had, what you said, 8 businesses that are up and down and failed and this and that. What is it
Something
that,
like that.
what is it that you're doing now, and why are you doing it?
Yeah, so, to segue on from that experience in my life, after that I said I want to have a business set up that does 3 things. Number 1, obviously provides me with financial freedom. Number 2, is an entity that I can run from anywhere in the world. So I can be anywhere and the business can be operating. And then number 3, it's selling a product or service that helps people. And I really wanted to focus on the space of mental health, of course. So tying in with the psychedelics, what can we sell and get out there in the market that does have a similar impact or provides people with an edge to upgrade their mental state and increase their cognitive performance as well as mental health. So, we dived into selling nootropics, probiotics, and, really great products with all kinds of compounds and amino acid blends that do just that.
Well done.
Yeah, so the company is called DEPA, or DPR, stands for Designer Performance Remedies. And early stage, I came to you with that name and you loved it.
Yes, correct.
So you were a part of the journey. And yeah, we got some great stuff. We can try some now as well.
Yeah.
It will activate in about 20 minutes. So
Okay.
how long does this podcast go for?
The podcast goes for as long as we want it to go for.
Right.
That's a
Well,
beautiful thing.
let's have some.
Have we got some? Oh,
So we've got 5 products.
oh, geez. Okay, we fucking wide for the next one as well. Yeah.
Ascend, which
Yeah.
is like a day. You can chuck it.
Right, I play cricket.
What's that one say? That's Ascend.
It's Ascend.
So that's like a daily performance nootropic. That's a great formula in that. Oh, what a catch!
Not bad. All right. Okay.
This one is Lift. So this is a mood enhancer.
Yeah.
5-HTP, and then we got Flow there, which is like ancient Chinese extracts that are really good at increasing blood flow to the brain.
Okay, I might try this.
productivity
Ascend to Greatness is a very good name.
Yeah, they've got like positive quotes on it.
I'm not allergic to anything, anyways. Okay, let's see. Will I have one
Yeah.
of these?
Yeah, one. I reckon you're a bigger guy. You can have 2.
Okay, no worries. I'm not
How's
gonna
your diet been recently? You have a good diet?
I do.
Okay.
Funny story.
This one here is an energy strip.
Okay.
So this has got.
Has it got caffeine in
You
it?
don't consume caffeine, do you?
No.
Yeah.
No,
that's
no
cool.
caffeine for me.
I don't drink coffee either at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's got like the holy trinity of energy. So this has got green tea, caffeine, vitamin B12, and L-theanine. And this one's called Boost.
Right.
So this one like hits you properly, dude.
So I had a guest on called Lucas Allen, who
yeah, Lucas is amazing, great friend.
yeah, who is probably Australia's leading biohacker.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am seeing him next week, right? Because
Perfect.
one of the things that
Shout
I love
out to
doing,
Lucas.
yeah, one of the that episode. I hope you get to listen to it because it was wild.
Wow.
That episode we literally spoke, and these 2 episodes have some link, obviously, with understanding supplementation, understanding how if you affect your internal state or external state, how that is the nice little domino effect that can occur to get yourself right. But
Yeah,
I'm seeing Lucas because I'm like, I was like, fuck it. I'm 34 years of age. I love the idea of high performance, like, working, running a business, doing all these things, and also having goals to, same as you, man. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have financial freedom. People are afraid of
100%.
saying it's like, no,
That's
fuck
whole
yeah.
poppy syndrome in Australia.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's cool. You want to have
Why
that?
wouldn't you want to have that?
Yeah. And
give back to the people that are around you and that are being there for you and that you love most. Just like it's a no-brainer.
it's a no-brainer. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm working stupid hours at the moment. I'm trying to train in the gym, keep all those things, also trying to, balance my sleep.
Yeah.
Why not get my bloods done?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is after that, I'll talk to him about this stuff as well. And then
Yeah.
I'm going to do a solo podcast,
Okay.
probably in maybe 8 to 12 weeks on
Nice.
how changing potentially some of the supplementation I put on my body, whether that affects you or not. Because, I have no doubt that there are a lot of people running on empty or running on pretty low.
Yeah.
And a little Kickstarter in the right direction, whatever it is,
Makes a big difference.
makes a big difference. And getting your bloods done and having someone read that, I think, is
Yeah.
pretty important.
Yeah, true.
So you're at what stage of the business? Because I'd love to just speak for 5 or 10 minutes now about business,
Yeah.
right? Because
Sounds good.
we've gone down psychedelics, we've gone down mental health, but a lot of guys out there that are really striving to make a little bit of extra money, they always say, start your side hustle, start your business. How long has this product been up for, and what were the hurdles that you found getting out something like nootropics, which are heavily out there in the market at the moment across different countries as well?
Yeah, sure. So, the timing of this recording, like this is not out yet.
Mm.
However, it will be once this is live. So,
Been tested, yeah?
yeah, yeah. So TGA approved and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've gone through all the licensing, but yeah. So deeperhuman.com is live. But yeah, that's right. I think fortunately we're in a day and age where information is everywhere, and information about business is so prevalent and so accessible now. It's like if you want to start something, there's really no excuse. It's not like our parents, like your dad here, that if he wanted to learn something, he'd have to like go through a library and read all these books and try and meet the right person to like learn about a particular niche or industry. Now it's just all there on the internet. But how did this come about? Going back to surrounding yourself with the right people, coming out of that experience and deciding I need to fix my life, and then went on a journey to do so. The right people was a key item that I would focus on, and being the average of the people around you, I said if I want to be successful, I have to be around people that are already successful. And it's so true. Like you really do kind of jump in their slipstream and catch their wind, and you propel each other forward together. So with this business, I said we need the best people involved. I've got an incredible business partner that's fortunately, one of the top e-com entrepreneurs in the country. We've got other incredible advisors. Luke has been one of them, and people that have propelled us in the right direction. But yeah, with DPL, we've got kind of a silo infrastructure where one side of our business is the face of these products here, and that came to fruition by the other side of our business, which is importing and exporting other products from the US to Australia and Australia to China, to then understand what sells, what people like, what really works in the market, and what we're getting good feedback on. So then we can identify a gap in the market and know what products we should sell and what ingredients to use and how to go about marketing it.
And so at the moment, where's the first place that you're going to test it? Will it be in Australia?
Yeah, we're launching in Australia. Yeah.
And when do you launch? Or do you not have a date yet?
Approximately 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks from now.
From the time of the recording.
Well, I can tell you something right now. Your episode won't have launched 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So this might be pretty handy.
Yeah.
For you, but that's amazing to look at that the life cycle of getting a business going. Does require having amazing people around you, and a lot of people try to do it on their own.
Yeah.
And it's great that you've put that ego aside and have gone, right, well, I know for me to become successful in your own right, in your own definition, you need to be up around with people that you can, sort of, once you said, follow in their slipstream.
Yeah,
And it's not,
absolutely.
and that comes down to networking. I went to this Stephen Bartlett, I guess, business and life tour the other day, right?
Okay.
And he says everyone's got 5 things that they have effectively. They got their skills, they got their knowledge, they got their network, they got their resources, and they got their reputation. And your reputation, resources, and network can be taken from you at any time, but your skills and knowledge remain.
Mm.
And so, right at this point, your knowledge and your skills of running a business, you've been able to develop because you've had the network, right? And so by doing that, all of a sudden, you're going to be able to have the capacity where wherever DPR goes, hopefully this is the one that sticks for you,
Mm.
but you've got that infrastructure to build on whatever it is next that you do, or whatever the next product is that you do.
Yeah.
And another thing he said, which is actually really powerful, is like each domino effect that we spoke about earlier, right? And you talked about the domino
Yeah.
effect of just taking one step in the right direction has the capacity to push 1.5 times harder on the next domino.
Absolutely.
So it's not just one domino plus one domino. It's one domino equals 1.5 times bigger effect.
Yeah.
And, that's super powerful.
And you just keep on knocking over bigger dominoes.
Yeah, exactly right. So last question.
Yeah.
5 years from now, you're looking back at this conversation. What is it that you hope to, have achieved within that time based off the fact that you like setting goals and you know what success looks like for you?
Yeah. 5 years from now.
You're going to talk to that version right now. You go, hey, bro.
Yeah. So I guess I'm entirely, more developed and more advanced version of myself in all facets. Yeah, obviously, I would have made wise investments and really set myself up well from a financial point of view. All of my closest friends will all still be there. I've had, most of my friends for 20 plus years. Known the people around me for a long time. And, those relationships are so important. Who knows? I might be married. Maybe kids. I don't know about that. We'll see. But yeah. I guess everything that I've envisioned really will have come to fruition.
Good man.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you, and thank you for allowing me to go deep into that conversation with you.
Yeah, of course.
People need to realize that to come onto a podcast and to talk like you've spoken is not an easy task at all. It's not like you've done 400 interviews, and on this topic, and a lot of the men that come on to here, this is their first, second, or third experience getting in front, and you've done an amazing job at articulating your experience. And for anyone that's going through, their own problems or situations, like we said, it starts off with getting around good people, and that might include a psychologist, might include a psychiatrist, but doing your knowledge and your research on what's the best way to move forward. I'll obviously put all of your information through our socials as well. Super proud of you
Yes,
for
sir.
getting this out, man. Well done.
No, thank you for having me.
And look forward to that in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Steve.
Well done, brother. Good chat.
Energy strip just hit. I'm
Yeah.
firing. I'm firing.